we are going to move on to the Cowboys and Lee Jones. I know you're a
After
Cowboys
my own
fan.
heart. After my own
Okay.
heart.
So I'm gonna keep it right with you again. Jerry Jones, he came out and he paid Ceedee Lamb his money. And he got his bag. And the question that we do have right now is Jerry Jones making a mistake by letting Dak Prescott gamble and bet on himself? Because he came out, and there's conflicting reports about the urgency to get a deal done with Dak Prescott prior to week 1. But if he doesn't, will Jerry Jones be making a mistake by allowing Dak to bet on himself?
Yeah, I think it's less Jerry Jones and more Dak Prescott not wanting a deal. There's no urgency for Dak Prescott to sign any deal with the Dallas Cowboys. None. I think the Cowboys would want to sign him right away. If they could sign him, they would sign him tomorrow, right? They want to do that. But I don't think Dak Prescott wants to sign a deal. It's going to have to be every little thing he wants. $60 million, how much, no trade clause, everything that Dak wants in his next deal, Dallas would have to give it to him. So there's no urgency on Dak Prescott. I think if at this time next year or in the preseason in March of next year, Dak Prescott, his asking price only goes up. It's probably right now at 60 million. It could be 65 million next March. So why would Dak Prescott sign? Dallas did right. Dak just sit back and say, take care of CD. I need CD to do my thing, to show everybody I'm the same quarterback I was last year. If Dak Prescott plays the same as he did last year, MVP race the whole season, second in the MVP race, he was in the top 3 of QBR, touchdowns, yards, and everything. He's going to get $60 to $65 million a year. So if the question is, Jerry them wants to sign him. They're begging him to sign. Dak is like, hold on. If it ain't everything I want, I don't need to sign. I'll play this year out. Remember, Dak Prescott played the year out with a broken ankle, right? And he set out that whole year after 4 games, and he still got paid. So he's going to get paid. And so it's not Jerry Jones, in my estimation. It's Dak Prescott not wanting to sign right now unless the deal is perfect for him.
Yeah. Zay, the mic is yours.
Yeah, I think I think it's a mistake, in my opinion, letting Descartes bet on himself. I think it's a situation where it's not gonna be based on him, right? Because their prediction is like Brock Purdy's expecting to get paid 55, 60 million, right? But let's say he has a bad year, right? Let's say he has a horrible year because there's the rumors about Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk situation happening over there, and if they're MIA this season, who is Brock Purdy? How does he work with adversity, right? We've seen games without Trent Williams. And Brock Purdy had an abysmal season without Trent Williams. I think he's like 3-10 or something like that. Some weird record. He doesn't play well without the proper protection that he needs, especially against the edge rushers of today. I think that impacts Dak Prescott's market significantly, right? Because not to say Dak Prescott's not better than Brock Purdy or he hasn't had better season than Brock Purdy, but the market is the market, right? If Brock Purdy goes down to 30 million, then Jerry Jones is like, oh yeah, we'll offer you 35 because the market says this. The market says you're not gonna get higher than this. You're not gonna get higher than that, right? And it's gonna be based on whoever gets paid in that QB market upcoming. Not based on what happened in the past, not based on what happened to Jalen Hurts or Lamar or Josh Allen. They're not even going to focus on that. They're going to be focused on, oh, Brock Purdy only got 30 million and that 49ers team went to the NFC Championship, or they went to this, or they went to that, right? And we haven't won any most games. We just lost to the Green Bay Packers again for the second year in a row. But it's based upon that, right? I think Dak Prescott deserves 55 plus million, deserves 60 plus million. I think that's a fact. I feel like I've been very vocal. He's been, his stats the last 3 to 4 years combined to the top 3, top 4. He's up there, right? You can make the argument he's a top 4, top 5 quarterback based on statistics alone. Dak Prescott. And I think Jerry Jones needs to come correct with that offer, and I feel like he deserves that. But we've seen time and time again when it's based upon a market, right? Guys will get underpaid based upon the volatile market and what's going to happen when it's all said and done. Who's available versus who isn't available and who gets paid. 9 times out of 10, in my opinion, Dak Prescott will be the best available quarterback in next year's free agency, right? Jerry Jones has a situation where he could potentially lose Dak Prescott within his own division. We're gonna talk about that in my take for 99. So it's gonna be a situation where Jerry Jones needs to come correct and understand where the Cowboys are today and how they fulfill that position if Dak Prescott is gone. You're talking about Shedeur Sanders. He might be gone in that first pick. We don't know where the hell he's going. We don't know what's gonna happen. He's talking about Shedeur Sanders. Who is he willing to give up for him? Micah Parsons? Trayvon Diggs? Like that's gonna be the players people are gonna want for that number one pick. So it's gonna be interesting what transpires at the end of this season. But I think it's a mistake in that regard for Dak Prescott to bet on himself. Not because he might get hurt, not for that in that regard, but more so the market always had these weird changes and these weird paradigm shifts split second where you go from the top dollar to the lowest of the low, just like that. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, so I would just say, a lot of people when CD got paid, they was, kind of deciphering in their brain, what does that mean for Dak Prescott? Is there any correlation there? And I would like to answer that from my own perspective and eyewitness view, right? Even though I'm not close up front, so I can't say eyewitness view, but from my viewpoint. And I think for me, I don't think it really has much to do with it, at least right now, mainly because the Cowboys, they had to pay Ceedee Lamb. That's a no-brainer. He's the best player on the team. And if you want to argue Dak Prescott, then you can argue with yourself. I'm not here to argue that right now. But he has, Dak Prescott is the most valuable person on the field because he's a quarterback. So by virtue of position, there's a lot of value there. But to me, Ceedee Lamb, outside of Dak Prescott, he's the best overall player on the team and the best weapon on offense. So you had to pay that guy, right? If you didn't pay that guy, then you got tight end Jake Ferguson. Okay, as a DC, I live with that. Why you got Brandon Cooks? Okay, well, small wide receiver. Yeah, consistent. You can argue, but I live with that, right? I live with those small guys. I live with Cook Zeke. Okay, a guy that's really bought in, really to be a short yardage, back 31 goal line, right? That's it. And blocking, pass blocking, right? That's it. Dalvin cooked. Okay, that's it. All right. I live with that, And I think for me, and I think he is, I think, Dalvin Cook another year, last year, he didn't really get a lot of opportunity in New York, but
Right.
with another year under his belt as a running back, I'm gonna just put him on the Cook side, even if he didn't show that statistically yet. Right. And I think for me, they had to pay Ceedee Lamb. So I really think it was a no-brainer to take care of him first, and they did, and that's smart. Now, when we get to Dak Prescott, I honestly think it works out for both guys to really play this year out. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because from Dak Prescott's perspective, as you alluded to, Lee, yeah, more money for me. I have all the leverage here. I can't be traded, I can't be tagged, I can only be paid. And I will get that money no matter where, whether it's here, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Giants, whether whoever is going to throw that bag to me, and I'm going to make a lot of money. And the quarterback market is going to go up. Hey, Brock Purdy, you want to get paid first? Go ahead. Yeah. All right. If I'm Dak Prescott, I am not answering the phone. No, don't call me, Jerry. I'm pulling off of Lamar Jackson. I am not negotiating until the season is over. I'm literally doing what Lamar Jackson did that year before he got paid. Nope. Once the season kicks off, no mas. We are not talking contract. We are playing football. Why? Because I know that money is going to come and hit. Okay. And it's going to be a lot of money. And if I'm, Jerry Jones, I'm willing to do that. Why? Because guess what? At the end of the day, Dak has to show me that he can win the big one. Hey, I understand it's not the best way to look at the game, especially, in the era of the quarterback market. You don't really get paid off of winning the championship. Look at Tua, look at Jordan Love, right? All you got to do is show one good year, and that's the year you're getting paid, and then boom, you're going to get your money, right? We don't really judge that. Nobody has won a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't won a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow didn't win a Super Bowl, okay? But they got their money. Justin Herbert didn't win a Super Bowl, but he got his money. Trevor Lawrence didn't win a Super Bowl, but he got his money, right? I get it. However, if you're Jerry Jones, you have had longer sample size with Dak Prescott. And while he was cheap on his rookie deal, I'm talking about 2016, he was making $546,000. Okay. In 2017, he was making $636,000.
Mm-hmm.
2018, 726,000. All right. And in 2019, $2.1 million. So you look at, the first couple years, 78 and 45th in the league in the quarterback cap hit. And yet, with those talented teams, we wasn't able to win nada. When he was cheap and the roster was bloated, okay? We're talking Amari Cooper, a young CD, and Michael Gallup, who was not cooked prior to that leg injury. And we still couldn't win. Now he's going to go from 78 and 45th in a quarterback cap hit to number one with a less talented roster. No, we have to see if we can win something this year, because what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I think Jerry Jones wants to see some results. Can you win in the playoffs? Can you be a consistent playoff performer? Your record is 2-5. So I think for both sides, they should want to see the season play out the way it's going to play out. And then we'll talk after the season is over. And if by any chance they lose Dak Prescott, let's say he doesn't win another playoff game. He doesn't win the playoff game this year. Let's say that doesn't happen. Then that's another interesting conversation about where the Cowboys are willing to go. Okay, and how much they're willing to give. But if he wins a couple playoff games, let's say he gets in the NFC Championship game, you get your bag.
With a bag, then the bag could be $70 million a year.
Listen, because he showed me he can win. He showed me, because remember, that's why I brought up the point I did. This is not the most talented roster. This is the least talented roster that Dak Prescott has had to work with. And if he showed he could get this roster further than the other ones, then I'm fine.
I understand what you're saying, but like, he's gonna get paid whether Jerry Jones pays him or not. That's what I'm saying. There's gonna be teams out there that's gonna pay him his money. It's not. There's teams out there desperate for a quarterback, right? It's not. There's not gonna be Jerry Jones and nowhere else. Dak is gonna get his money wherever he wants to get it in Dallas. You should pay him his money, because Dallas not gonna have who else? Who's gonna be left? Trey Lance? You want to give you the franchise of Trey Lance, and you want to figure it out then how bad this franchise is? Jerry Jones needs to stop playing this roulette. He keeps doing it year after year after year. He plays roulette with these guys, and then when guys just finally decide to leave, you realize the true hardship of the world, and then he's like, damn, now we have to find a way to replace him, or he try to talk bad about him or whatever. Like, Dak Prescott has done everything right in Dallas for the franchise. Everything right Dak Prescott has done right for this franchise. He deserves his money. Get him paid. They get him paid. He did it with a rookie Ceedee Lamb, even though he's one of the talented players. He did it with a rookie Ceedee Lamb. He did it with receivers that were in and out the rotation. He did it with Zeke, who fell off a cliff after his rookie year. Like, he's done it all with all these different players. Like, Dak has played well. He's been
there has to be a January component to this conversation, and I understand that really doesn't always impact the quarterback market. No team wants to be in football purgatory. I get that point, and that's what the Cowboys would be in the post Dak Prescott era, football purgatory. But sometimes you got to enter football purgatory to get a guy that can win you something in the back end, and that's a step back to take a step forward conversation. But what I'm saying is, this year needs to be the year that Dak Prescott wins a couple playoff games and at least get his team to the NFC Championship game. We cannot.
The Cowboys been a bottom.
We cannot see the same thing every single year and be okay with that.
Dallas has, if you look at the Cowboys, and I am a Cowboy fan, I can dissect their team at a moment's notice. Leel, you said that this is the least talented team that Dallas has. I would disagree. This is probably the best, with Mike Zimmer coming in as defensive coordinator. It'll be the best team that they have, simply because it's never been the fact that Dallas offensively couldn't get the job done. They've had the top offense, one or two in the league the last 3 years. It's not offense. What happened to Dallas last year was Dan Quinn thought that he could win football games with safeties playing linebacker. You can do that against the bad teams. With the good teams that can run the football, you can't do that. So what has Dallas done? Brought in Linval Joseph, 6'4", 330 pounds. Brought in Jordan Phillips, 6'6", 347 pounds. Have Mozzie Smith. You've gotten bigger in your defensive front, and you took those safeties out of there and you put linebackers that are anywhere from 232 all the way up to 242, and you have real linebackers there. What is that going to do for the Cowboys? It's going to make them a better team so they can stop the run. That was the issue. Now,
Yeah.
last thing
I
I'll
mean,
say.
look, you could look at offense and defense and,
Last,
and have those, assumptions there and those, critiques there. But what I'm saying is when you look at Dak Prescott, who's playing quarterback, right, and the abundance of weapons he's had in the situation, let's not act like Dak Prescott. I mean, Lee, you can correct me if you have another opinion. I don't think there's any quarterback not named Patty Mahomes that's been in a better situation since he's been in the league than Dak Prescott. Now, if you want to rebuttal that, give me the guy.
I would disagree because again, if you don't have a defense that can stop the run, look, go back to the Green Bay game. Dallas scored 32 points in that game. Dak Prescott threw for 402 yards.
Yeah, garbage, a lot of garbage time.
But okay, you want to call it was garbage because the defense couldn't stop Green Bay.
But the offense couldn't keep up. Dak Prescott threw 2 interceptions. He couldn't keep up.
Two interceptions won't lose you a game, Leel.
It won't. But if the Packers are out here, cooking y'all on offense, you got to keep up.
Two intercept, but you have to stop the other team.
Yeah, of course.
At some point,
you got to keep up, though.
So it's not. Dak Prescott was runner-up in the MVP race last year, right? So obviously, he played at a level last year that had him as the second best player, right, in the NFL, according to the MVP stats, right? So it's not a Dak Prescott thing. Dak Prescott's going to get paid. Jerry Jones making a mistake. The other things that I want to say this, it never goes down with these starting quarterbacks. Purdy's going to get 55, 56, 58 million next year. Prescott 60, 65. It never goes down.
I mean, look, I think personally that's subjective. I guess it's more subjective than I initially thought. But when you look at the Cowboys offense, that has always been good. And that's an argument that's unrefuted. It has always been good when you look at it. 2019 under Kellen Moore, in 2021, I believe, they led the league in scoring in offense, right? But you had Amari Cooper, you had Ceedee Lamb, who was getting ushered into that number one guy who he became. My point being is that Dak Prescott, to me, there's no other quarterback in the league other than Patrick Mahomes that I think that has been in a better predicament to succeed. Now, whether or not you want to incorporate defense here, Dak Prescott, obviously defense matters because it gets you the ball back and stuff like that. You can stop somebody. I get that point. So it is factored in there. But as far as offensively, Dak has always been in a position to look good.
Well, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But they're looking good because of his
because
play.
even if you want to go defense and talk about defense, Patrick Mahomes is a guy who I just correlated Dak Prescott to. Guess what? He won a Super Bowl with a bad defense.
Well, he's always had big Chris Jones, though.
Yeah, he had those one or two guys. Those one or two guys that can make playoff.
Excellent corners that can play bump and run.
Yeah, but they defense. Come on, they defense.
You can't stop the run if your linebackers weigh 212 pounds. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it, but at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes with a below average defense won a couple chips or got to a Super Bowl and won one, right? Dak Prescott has always been in a great situation. And when he gets paid, okay, the situation is not going to be the same. Why? Because it's common knowledge. When your quarterback is expensive and he's taking up the cap, then you're going to lose guys, okay? And we have to know and we have to see if Dak Prescott can carry a team because he hasn't had to really carry a team. You know what I'm saying? All he had to do was keep up. Now, can he go out there and win in the playoffs? That's what it matters. It should matter. January. That's why you play the game, to win in the playoffs. Can he do that?
I don't agree that he didn't carry that off. I feel like Dak Prescott did a phenomenal job.
He's the reason the offense was good, him and Ceedee.
I mean, last year, he balled out. I give him credit for last year. That was his best season.
In the last couple of years, he's been great, though. That's what I'm saying. Like when you look at the last few years, in terms of statistics, he's been up there with the Josh Allens. He's been up there with the Patrick Mahomes. He's been up there with the gunslingers of the NFL. Is Dak Prescott with him? Dak Prescott is up there in a lot of statistical categories, right? And
what about? I mean, we're not gonna act like this guy didn't throw how many interceptions he threw a couple years ago. I mean, we want to talk about. We want to look at stats and compare in the first topic. We went stats, right?
2
You
years
remember
ago,
that,
he
right?
threw 15 interceptions, right?
Yeah,
And he led the league with 15 interceptions, right?
yeah, he
2 years
did,
ago. And
and
they
it could have been
roasted
more.
Dak Prescott 15. Josh Allen threw 18 this year. You don't
Yeah,
hear a
and it
word.
could have been
It's
more because
crickets. It's
he
crickets.
could have threw more interceptions too.
It's
A
crickets.
lot of
It's
those was
crickets.
drops,
Well,
and he
No,
missed
but
a couple.
listen,
everybody,
And he missed a couple games.
but listen,
Mamba
Remember,
but
Dak
drops all the
Prescott.
time.
Remember,
I
Cooper
mean,
Rush came in a couple years ago for I forgot how much games it was, and Dak Prescott threw 15 that year. He didn't even play the whole year.
if you compare Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes, the last 5 years, Dak Prescott statistics are better than Patrick Mahomes. The only fact, Patrick Mahomes has those 3 chips, so it's undeniable. But if you look at statistics from completion percentages, touchdowns, less interceptions,
Right.
Dak Prescott is better.
And when
that's
you
the
come
my
into the playoffs and you watch these
I gave
guys,
you that, Leo. I give you that. We were just
Mahomes
talking
is
about
calm,
simple
cool,
stats. We were talking
collective.
about over a period of time.
Okay. Go ahead,
listen.
Zay.
My last question is this, right? We're coming to a situation where it's looking like Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons might enter free agency together, right? There's a potential. Not saying it will, there's a potential. Lee Jones, I want to ask you, who does Jerry Jones franchise and who does he work on that contract immediately between the Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott?
So Prescott, he's going to sign Prescott. See, they still have the franchise tag with Micah. They can franchise Micah next year. Remember, Micah has 2 years left on his contract this year and next.
Yeah, they can't
So
franchise.
they still have the franchise tag for Micah Parsons. He's going to get paid. And let me say this. Even the salary cap went up almost $20 million this year overall for every team. The quarterbacks are only accounting between 20 and 25% of the salary cap. That's why all of these guys are getting paid. So they can carry CD, they can carry Dak, and they can carry Micah. Now, what you have to do now when you have big stars making that money, you have to draft well.
Yeah,
and Dallas has drafted
absolutely.
well, very well over the last 5 years. They've after the street, they've underachieved, and I'll give both of you this credit. They've underachieved in the playoffs. That's my team. I'm real with mine. I don't lie. They've underachieved.
You got to be real. They underachieved.
You can only be
I mean,
real. Hey,
I
but
mean,
they
we know, we
underachieved.
sense that the choke is coming, bro.
No,
Like,
the
if there's
Cowboys-
anything,
I
if there's
love what they've
anything,
done. I
if
love
there's
what they've done
anything,
this offseason. I love what they've done. They've quietly signed a better defensive front. They drafted better linebackers. They drafted Tyrone Guyton from Oklahoma, who's going to be a star at the left tackle. And they got a new center, Connor Beebe, who's a monster. So I love what Dallas has done. And then you said Dalvin Cook is cooked. Watch what happens this year with Dalvin Cook. So I love the tandem of Dalvin Cook and Zeke because you're right. Short yardage, where Dallas struggled last year on the goal line, short yardage, you have Zeke. He can do that. Dalvin Cook is a home run hitter. So I love where the Cowboys sit, and I like them being under the radar because I think they're quietly building the Super Bowl contender.
I mean, look, and I don't think this is the most talented offensive team in the diaper. I really would refute that. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about the days of the 2 tight ends with Dalton Schultz, and I think Ferguson was on the team together. They was one of those, and they had the 3 monsters outside, the wide receiver. And look, one thing is a given, right? We know that some things in this world is per usual. The Democrats are going to lie to your face, okay? Girls are going to be girls, guys are going to be guys. Numbers don't lie, and the Cowboys are going to choke. Okay,
I disagree. I disagree with
that.
that.
That's what we know. Like, if anything
with
fails, the Cowboys are going to choke.
We have the second most wins
respectfully
of any team in the league, and it's 1 game behind Kansas City.
Look, I mean, we can hit that fly stat all we want, but come January,
every team that doesn't win the Super Bowl is a failure.
It is.
My
It is.
football
I
mind
agree with
thinks
that.
If you don't win the Super Bowl, you're a failure.
Yeah,
Kansas City Chiefs.
Listen,
are
I
the
can't.
champ.
That
Everybody's
comment is so black and white. I can't disagree with that. Like, yeah, of course, right? Yeah. If the sky ain't out, if the sun ain't out, then it's dark. Yeah. Okay. Right. But come on, like with the Cowboys, if we really want to just dive into, take a little bit more, the Cowboys are quote unquote America's team. They are heavily watched. There's a lot investing. Jerry Jones is going to dish out the check, and some teams are different. So yes, even though we want to go with the sky is blue theory, there's a difference. quarterbacks may be expensive on other teams.
Yep.
Maybe financially, more teams are investing in winning the championship than another.
Mhm.
All losses don't hold equally. Like if Boston, all right. So for example, in the NBA, the Timberwolves they overexceeded this year. Okay, are we tripping that they lost, even though they probably should have beat the Mavericks? No, because Ant showed up. Rudy showed that he could win. In the playoffs. Okay, fine. There was narratives that were being defeated. Okay, they couldn't even get out the playing game. They did. They made the Western Conference Finals. Okay, but if Boston lost the finals, okay, come on, we are. Oh, Boston sucks. Break up Tatum. Break up Brown. No, it don't hold the same, bro.
Yeah, because they're ultra talented. But I
You know?
hey, and I'm not going anywhere, God willing. I certainly love to be on your show, you guys' show. So the season's going to play out, but quietly, and you can hold me to this. I think they're building the best team, Dallas. Not best offense, the best team they've had over the last 4 years this year. I love what they're doing.
All right, we're gonna go to halftime here. That was a good debate. And before we get to halftime, actually, I lied. There's one more point I want to bring up before we transition to halftime here, because it's in regards to Ceedee Lamb. Now we all know Ceedee Lamb was a excellent wide receiver, top 3 in the league. I don't even think there's no debate there anymore. He can win against press coverage, match coverage. He can be in the slot and be a threat that's hard to stop in the slot. He can be on the outside, but Lee, this is for you again because you're the Cowboys fan. How did you think Jerry Jones played that situation? Because obviously he did not play. Now, I'm not sure what he's been doing as far as workouts, outside of what we are able to see in the preseason or not, whatever he's done. But do you think Jerry Jones handled that right? Because, when you're a wide receiver, you come back and you're trying to get ready for week 1. That's when the hamstrings start to mess up. That's when injuries start to happen. How do you think Jerry Jones handled that situation?
That's a fair assessment. And I would have liked to have seen Ceedee got into camp last week, right? So that he could have that time to ramp up and not overdo it and press. He practiced yesterday. After he signed that contract, he was on the field. I am scared of soft tissue injuries because, to your point, Leel, that's what happens. But I'll say this. Back in, I think it was 1996 or 8, Michael Irvin had just came off of a Super Bowl year, and he led the league in catches, and he held out until 3 days before the season. The first game, he caught 9 balls for 92 yards, and he played with 3 days. Zeke, when he held out 3 days before the season, he got in, he played, gained 92 yards during that game. So you have to be careful with ramping them up, and you certainly have to be on a pitch count because you don't want to have those injuries. But I think he got into camp in enough time that if they're smart about it and how they ramp him up, he'll be okay. But to your point is well taken. I'd hate for him to pull a hamstring and miss 6 weeks because of the lateness of getting into camp. Very, very good point. Very good point.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.